You're listening to NT Paranormal After Dark. Nothing normal about it.
I think it's just going to be cool being in there after dark for the first time, because the only two times that we've been in there so far, it's been
day.
Yeah, midday, and like you can see the kitty, and we know where the
vulture is.
The vulture lives and all that. And as much as I really want to not like warn the rest of the group,
I don't want to disturb the vulture, but there's a big part of me that wants to just run people through that room to terrify them.
Yeah, I wish it was something like not nature.
Yeah.
Like something mechanical.
Well, and even if like it didn't have...
There's a whole other warehouse that's full of things like that.
If the vulture didn't have a nest, I'd still do it, but it has babies.
Yeah. And also if it didn't have that, like, those big dangerous talons where it's just going to, like, rake somebody's face off. So, what episode is this? Episode
47?
So, welcome back to NT Paranormal After Dark, episode 47. And today's episode is brought to you by Hangman's House of Horrors. Not really. I mean, they're not like, they don't give us money or anything. But we do have this really cool event coming up that, you know.
Mean asks, is it creepy during the day?
Oh, yeah. It's hella creepy during the day. When, oh, there it is. Yeah. So I'm going to put that up. Yay. So we have this cool event coming up, and we'll talk about it in a little bit. But, you know, today's episode is brought to you by Hangman's House of Horrors Paranormal Investigation Lock-In, which we are hosting. We'll be the ones running everybody through. But, yeah, it is pretty creepy during the day.
Yeah, you got bugged out because we heard sound like someone walking around.
Someone walking around like on the second floor, and we know we're the only ones not there. And when I was in there Sunday with Sam, which is one of the guys that runs Hangman's, you know, we were going through and looking at all the stuff we needed to patch up and things like that. And we're on the second floor, and I'm like in the middle of talking, and you just hear, bam! This door slam, and we just both... And he's like, "You're the investigator, dude. Is that..." I'm like, "I don't know. I'm not going to look." He's like, "What?" I'm like, "You're on your own, dude." I'm like, "I'm not on the clock." So it was pretty funny. Yeah, I'm really stoked to see what that place is like at night. And then I'm really interested to see what it's like in like the smaller groups, because we're going to do the thing like, I think that's one of the things that was really good about what we did at Yoakum is we went off in pairs. Like it really wasn't that scary like when we were all grouped up, but then after we finally got set up and everything, and we got people to like go away and just do things in individual groups. I don't remember
what I was doing, but at some point I was up on that third floor alone at night. I got pretty creeped out.
Oh yeah. That, you know, they kept talking up the second floor, like, oh, the second floor, it's so active. The third floor is what really...
It's got an atmosphere, though. I think it's the whole stalagmites inside the building sort of thing.
Atmosphere. It has a very thick atmosphere of, like, mold and rot. It's whole...
I'm over here subtly trying to show off the...
Oh, your new hoodie?
Yeah.
That you jacked off of me because it doesn't...
Yeah, you said jack off.
You are a jack off. Man, I've done that twice today because I just said jack off, and earlier I was talking about something at work in inventory, and I was like, oh, I'll just eat that out of inventory or whatever, and everybody's like, what? And I'm like, oh. I get it, pervs. Oh, man. We've had a lot going on since the, like, a lot going on. I think it feels like I haven't done a podcast in a while, but I swear I did one last week, but I think it was just me, the talk before Yoakum.
Yeah.
And then we did Yoakum last week.
You did Hades show.
Yeah, it's really weird that we did Yoakum just last weekend.
Yeah, it feels like it was a long time ago. No, it wasn't last weekend. It was weekend before last. Because last weekend we did the residential.
Oh, that's why it feels so long ago, because we've done
a long time ago.
We've done investigations since then. So we went out to Yoakum, we did the live stream out there, and we did the legit overnight investigation. And that Oh, what was really cool is that's one of the first investigations where I've left the cameras running
While we were gone.
all night long. And so that's why it took so long to get all that stuff downloaded, because there's more than the normal 6 hours per camera of footage. There's actually 24 hours of footage per camera.
No, I mean, it's not an NTP hoodie. It's a Ghostbusters hoodie, which is much cooler.
Yeah.
We do have NTP hoodies for sale.
Oh, we actually we have a new design on our shirts now that's that just went for sale. It's pretty cool. It's got the full logo and then it's got the star behind it instead of just saying NTPI.
Okay.
So we did Yoakum and we did some different things there. Did the live stream, and then last weekend we did the residential, which we didn't talk a lot about because it was a private investigation, but so much stuff kind of came of it that, you know, it's kind of our very, very related to our topic this week, because I can't believe that. I don't even know how to launch into it, to be honest. So we had this residential case come up, and I knew about it before we went to Yoakum. But yeah, we do have beanies that have a big star on them.
I was going to say, first you could talk about the post you made.
Right. So before we even went out there, so I knew about this case before we went to Yoakum, but I said, you know, we've got this investigation we're doing, so we'll do it the following weekend. And so the guy sent me all the evidence he had collected or whatever. And not that it was like sketchy, but just kind of the way it was coming off, the way it was coming through, the amount of stuff he had captured on his own and things like that. Like, because what he had really neglected to mention was that he had another investigator out there before us, which I think he did mention.
He did mention it because you told me about it.
Yeah, but I wasn't getting like where that came from, and so.
But did that spawn the background check post?
Yeah,
okay.
which is something I've done on other like residential, because we've had some weird stuff come up, and that triggered that one day, and I was like, you know, if we're going to be going out into the middle of the woods...
Yeah, say, for the record,
people,
one of the reasons we do a background check is because this could be dangerous.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people get that. Because they're used to ghost hunting, like, on their own, and that's dangerous enough anyway. Like, especially
but letting someone drag you out into the middle of all nowhere in Lipan...
Yeah.
You get a little scared you're about to get murdered.
And I don't do it on... You know, you gauge it. But if it feels like it's going to be sketchy, yeah, I do a background check on the people I'm talking to. And the reason that actually came about was there was one that we were getting called to do, and the guy wanted us to go out to his property. This is what spawned the background check thing anyway, and then I'll go into what the discussion was. But so we will do background checks on our clients, and that involves a criminal background check as part of that. But what spawned that was there was this person who wanted us to come out and investigate this property. But the way he was talking about it was really sketchy. The way he was like, well, I need you to be out here at a certain time, but if you see so-and-so, we can't be there. And there were a bunch of like red flags. Like, I don't remember all the thing. And I was like, okay, this is kind of weird. And it started as I was background checking the property. But when I do the background check of the property and the history, it brings up the names of all the previous owners and all the tax information and stuff like that. And he wasn't connected to any of it, but he was presenting himself as the owner. And so when I questioned about it, he was avoiding it a lot. And so I ended up, as part of the same little process, it was like you pay a little bit more, you can background check the person. And I had enough info on him to fill it out. Got it. And immediately found out he didn't own the property. It was his ex-wife's property, and what he was really trying to do was break into his ex-wife's property to get his stuff, and was using us as like a catalyst. We were going to get used as a scapegoat, is what it was. We were going to get blamed for breaking and entering. And you know, that sounds really weird. Like, I'm not exactly sure how his little plan was it sounds stupid, but you know, when I kind of confronted him about all of it, he was just like, the whole thing changed.
Yeah,
and
he's dodgy.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, I'm glad I did that. And then like the next person I background checked, nothing came up, and it wasn't a big deal. So anyway, this residential thing came up, and there were some kind of sketchy that felt like red flags, and I have an open account with Truth Finder, so I did a background check anyway. But I thought it was interesting because I had kind of mentioned, I said, hey, I do background checks on our clients because it could be dangerous, something like that. And I asked for a little bit of feedback on it on a couple of the sites that we frequent. And the discussion was really...
And it was a good discussion.
It was probably one of the best ones I've had, because there were people that, there were a bunch of more people than I expected that were like, no, that's a great idea. Like, I wish I had thought of doing that. Or, yeah, good on you. You can't be too careful. There's psychos out there, sort of thing.
And even the ones that were against it were willing to, like, discuss it with us.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is usually on that particular site, if you say something that the rest of the community doesn't agree with, you'll just get like
flamed,
just totally trolled the whole way through. But a few people were like, no, I don't like that I'd be mad if you did that. And then I would respond, and you responded too. You were on the same thread, and we kind of talked about like some of the reason, and it became a discussion. And like 99%, I think all but one person was like, no, actually, yeah, it's pretty good. But I think one of the interesting things that came of it is there were people confused how we were doing background checks and things like that. And after a couple of interactions, we figured out, it's because you're from a different country.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that brought up some interesting things. So here in the U.S., if you have a criminal background, that is public information, basically. And you don't have, like, I go through Truth Finder, but you don't have to have an account to find, if you're really good at internet searching and all that. You can go through archives and find all that same data. That service I pay for just puts it all in one easy to grasp sort of package for you. That way, because I'm not that sleuthy at like digging into people's stuff. But well, I at least know in Canada and Australia, the two people we were talking about, they basically have HIPAA about like your criminal stuff, which I think is interesting. What do you think of that? I mean, do you think your criminal background should be public information, or do you think that should be private?
I think it really depends on what you did. I think if you're a felon, yeah, but if it's a misdemeanor, no, I don't think that should be public information.
Yeah, and I see both sides of it. I really do.
Well, and even some felonies, I mean.
I was really on the fence about it because they brought a good point. It's like, well, you don't want to judge people based on their past. It's in the past if they already paid their debt.
And imagine trying to find a job.
Yeah, and I mean, that is a hard process, because if you're going to find a job, you have to divulge and you're not supposed to let that factor in, but it does.
Oh, yeah.
You think about that. And yeah, I believe in letting the past be the past and letting, maybe that person hasn't had a criminal offense in 20 years, and so it really isn't relevant. But then there's the flip side of the coin where you get the person that does rip you off, and they have a history of ripping people off.
Yeah.
And then you're standing there going, man, if only there was a way to know if this person had a history of ripping people off. And there's also kind of the idea that
the other point,
you committed a crime, right?
Yeah.
So didn't you kind of lose your right to privacy about that? Like that you knew that was one of the consequences going into a crime.
The other point people made that I found was interesting was that if you're a good criminal, you don't have a record.
Right, and I 100% agree with that. Like, if you're good at ripping people off, you haven't been caught. So it's not going to catch that. My only like sort of logic to that was if your grift is screwing over
ghost hunters,
you're probably not the smartest criminal, because I mean none of us have any money. But the other thing is what I was looking for was everybody was like, well, you want to know if they have a violent past, or if this, that, and the other. But the thing I was looking for was does this person have a history of fraud? Because one of the big horror stories, and I'd heard it just in paranormal investigating, but in your field was a lot. But you go into a house, you're doing a thing, you leave, and then you get accused of stealing stuff.
Yeah, and a lot of people, because what she said, one of the chicks on the post said, well, if paramedics can do it and they aren't concerned about getting blamed for stealing stuff. But I've been to EMS school, and they are very focused. That is a thing that happens where a paramedic will go into someone's home. Generally, if they are alone in a room, like with the patient, something will come up missing, or they'll say something came up missing, and the paramedic's to blame. And basically what they said in school is there's no way to fight this.
Yeah.
What you can do is you can not be alone.
Right.
You thoroughly document everything. Never be. They said sometimes it's going to happen that you're going to have to be alone with a patient. Maybe there's two patients.
My argument was even thoroughly documenting and not being alone. That doesn't help.
It doesn't fix it.
And people were like, well, you need to record everything. You need to videotape everything. All they have to do is say, well, they weren't videotaping when they did that.
Well, and I want to say, like, as a medic especially, you can't videotape anything. That's hella illegal. That breaks all sorts of HIPAA laws.
Right, because the medical side of it gets in the way of it.
Yeah, so basically the problem anytime you're entering into someone else's home is you can be blamed for stealing. That's a big reason, like, pizza delivery people generally won't come in your home.
Yeah, because that was the thing. It's like, well, I'm glad I'm not a pizza delivery driver or a fireman, and they don't have to worry about things like that. And I was like, and you were like, yeah, they absolutely do. They have classes about
that is a huge issue.
It is, and that person was like, oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, these people.
And I wasn't rude when I responded.
No. These were really good conversations, except for that one crazy dude.
Oh, the crazy dude that said we were frauds.
He said I was a fraud.
Yeah.
And that I was being sued. I wanted to know what I was being fraudulent about, because I don't think I've ever told anybody they had a ghost in their house.
I really think he thought you were someone else. Or he was someone you pissed off, which is really possible considering who you are as a human. But I'm really glad the people on the board got on that and were like, hey, crazy dude, go away.
Ultimately, even if I don't get the answer I want, but what's your thoughts on the background check? Do you think it's an invasion of privacy? No. Do you think it's absolutely necessary?
I don't find it necessary.
I don't either. That's
I would still go into a house even if we hadn't done one, but I do think it's a good idea. I think it's a smart thing to do, and I think it's going to tell us stuff that they might not.
Now, and that was discussing it from the angle of as the investigator doing it on there.
If I was going into someone's home, let's say we were going into this last dude's home, and they ran a background check on me and told me, I would not be mad. I would be like, that's a smart move, dude.
Yeah, and so I flipped it. After that, I posted it a different way. I flipped it. I said, if you're going to have paranormal investigators in your home, do you background check them? Or do you think you should background check them? There was no argument. Unanimously, they were like, hell yeah. I'm not going to let somebody in my home without background checking those effers. And I'm like, interesting, because you posted something different on the other thread. And they're like, oh, wait a minute. And it clicked. But, and I said that open, background check us. That's fine. We'll carry. I mean, it doesn't do any good for us to carry around our own.
As you especially want to background check people that are doing this, because we have run into people that are extorting money off people. And the one we ran into who was doing it had a criminal background, because I was able to find it with Google.
You know what's really that's interesting though, because that was in Canada.
It was because he had appeared in newspapers and magazines for the things he had been doing wrong.
Right. So you didn't see his actual criminal background. No, you just saw the news.
I had gone into a town gossip page and found it there.
Right.
So even if your criminal background history isn't on the internet, it might be in the town gossip page.
Jen's talking to Ange on there. I see you watching too. Neither of us should be. I think they're both at work.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, I thought it was interesting how all of a sudden, when you reverse the roles, the idea about it flipped. And as a paranormal investigator, I don't trust any other paranormal investigators. I wouldn't have other paranormal investigators in my house, even if I thought there was a ghost, without first doing a lot of research about them. Because not that paranormal investigators are going to steal your shit, but man, that's just that's really iffy. They're going to be in there. They're going to be filming,
especially if you're going to leave them in your house alone.
Yeah, that's the other. That's like the other
like
sketchy
if you're
thing.
going to follow them around all night, like a lot of our clients do, okay. But some of our clients leave.
Right.
We're in their house completely alone.
You know, I know we're like one of the more professional groups. Like when we say, it doesn't seem like it because the way we run our podcast.
You said jerk off on the podcast
and shit and poop head
poop
doo doo.
Yeah, they're at work. She says.
But a lot of our clients do leave. Like we're trustworthy or whatever. I don't know. I mean, it's not like anybody's got any.
I think
bad
it's
reviews
mostly they
about us.
don't want to be bored.
I think we're the only group that's straight up about that.
You will be bored if you sit here all night.
We're like, look, it's going to be boring. And they're like, oh,
you can stay.
The other group said it would be really exciting. They lied.
Yeah, or they're making shit up.
Probably the latter. But I don't know. I have no problem with a criminal background check. I have no problem with the fact that those records aren't sealed. I
also don't have a criminal background. If I had one, I might think differently.
I might think differently if I had a criminal background, but I don't know. But I do understand why different countries have different laws about that. Like I am for privacy. People should have privacy. You shouldn't just be able to look up whatever you want about somebody on the internet.
In a lot of ways, people
I
do it to themselves too. Think about all the stuff you put publicly on Facebook.
That was the other point I wanted to bring up. I was like, okay, so like I'm not like going into the criminal database like through the state and finding this info. I'm going on Truth Finder. So what it does is it does pull your public criminal background,
and it's pulling social media history.
and it pulls all the stuff from social media and all, because like we did one on you.
So how I found out about that dude is literally all I did was go into a town gossip page.
Yeah.
And messaged people from the town gossip page. This, even if he was trying to keep that secret, like with the way the world is now, that's why I used to put a lot more stuff on social media than I do now. But people are doing this to themselves.
Right, yeah, and she was like, that's an invasion of privacy. I was like, there's nothing I'm pulling up that's actually private. It's just I'm using an aggregator service to bring it to me. I'm basically paying somebody $10 to dox you.
Yeah.
That's all it really is.
Like if I worked hard enough, I could do this myself, but I'm lazy.
Yeah, all I got to do is go on Facebook, look at your page which is how I basically have to do.
That's why it's super important to keep your Facebook page utterly locked down.
Right, because the person we're about to just trash. The reason I was able to do a background check on him is because I can see where he's from, where he lives.
But dear God, his post, his Facebook is locked. I would have to friend.
I don't want to friend him yet. I will.
I mean, it says you can find out a lot on the Cleveland Gossip page. Yeah, I know. I joined that page just so I could see what kind of crap was going on. Our town is insane.
I love the story about the high school.
God, I'm so mad about that.
For the ghost you made up and how you created an urban legend. That's so awesome.
I did. And Cleveland High School is still suffering from my activities.
I think it would be so cool if we got asked to
investigate the high school
investigate
for the
it.
freaking ghost I made up.
Yeah, that would be awesome. But anyway, and by the way, if you guys have an opinion on the background check thing, I'm
Tammy
really
says
curious.
you were just finding things out that they're not telling you. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I'm not like digging deep. Like,
No.
man, what was this guy doing in 1969?
We just really
Like,
want to know you're not a serial killer and you're not going to rob us and you're not going to accuse us of stealing from you.
Well, so like a lot of people that would like scam would do something like that probably have a history of bouncing a bunch of checks or like petty theft or like local scam stuff. Like, you know, it wouldn't be anything major. Yeah. But they wouldn't think anybody's really looking into it, sort of thing. You know, it's kind of if they're big time, they don't have a record, but they're probably not trying to scam me.
These days, who's bouncing checks? Besides my 87-year-old grandma. I mean,
I don't know. I mean, and we've had a couple of clients that had fraud come up on their background thing, but we still did the thing. I don't. It doesn't just because you have, and that was the thing. They're like, well, it would really suck if they need help and you didn't help them because
it doesn't mean we don't do it. It just means we CIA.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, exactly. Cover your ass. but I don't know. I thought it was really interesting.
As was the rule in paramedic class, CYA, every time.
So we did so we ended up going and doing the investigation.
And the people were
last
absolutely
weekend.
lovely.
Yes.
Just for
tell
the
us about
record.
tell us about the investigation.
How much can I say? Mina says what to check. Yeah, no joke. Anyway,
It was a residential on the other side of Dallas.
It was some people who thought their house was haunted.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, you can talk about the whole thing. We're just not going to bring up names or a location.
The thing was,
I even have a clip from the investigation.
and they had sent us a bunch of stuff. But the thing was, is they had someone else out there who, I don't know if he's a ghost hunter per se. He does a lot of other stuff, it seems.
Calls himself
an occult specialist.
An occult specialist.
Now that means he's not involved in he is very much against the occult. And I'm trying to say this without being offensive. I believe because his religious belief aligned with these people's religious beliefs,
loosely,
he was able to convince them of a lot of things that I do not believe were true, that was very detrimental to their family.
So let's talk about what was happening in the resident that made them call us in the first place anyway.
They're hearing noises.
They were hearing strange noises.
Which we can confirm, there are strange noises.
Yeah. Cold spots. And the big thing, though, we get a lot of those with the residentials where it's like we're hearing noises, voices, seeing things, whatever. Their biggest concern was like mental health and safety, actually, because they were having some bad mood swings, and it even and they confided in us that it was leading to some like marital problems and things like that. And
their kid was freaked, was the other one.
Yeah, their kid was really scary. And that's the main reason that we took the case.
Yeah.
Was because their quality of life was crap. And not crap, but it was
so bad they're not living at home.
It's so bad that they were deciding to sell. The house is on the market.
Yeah.
It's like by the time we're in there doing it, the house is on the market. Like they had the sales flyers, all that crap out.
So someone
and they were living in an RV, and then they're living in a hotel. So that's pretty extreme.
What bothers me about it the most is that someone was able to come in there and convince them that their house was so detrimentally haunted that they had to leave,
pick up and move into a hotel.
Which, dude, if your house is haunted, if there's shit flying around, if there's demon voices going, get out, if your walls are bleeding, move.
Yeah, I totally get that. And like, if you really believe that, I sympathize. I understand. And the main reason they did it wasn't even that. The main reason was because they're having they're having like the mood problems. They're depressed all the time. They notice when they leave the house, they feel better, but when they come back, just everything is crap. And so just looking at the case over the weekend or what, not even going in, I was like, okay, it might be EMF. That was my first thought, is it's EMF poisoning, because it didn't start till like they were there about a year.
Yeah.
Which is about how long it takes for that to kind of really set in and be a regular thing. So that I kind of thought I knew the solution like up front, and I was like, okay, a lot of these videos he's sending me are just dust, and they're just connecting dots, things like that. There were a couple where I was really genuinely kind of stumped, but it's like, okay, once we get on the scene, we'll figure out what's going on. But but all that's going on, and this is before they get to us, right? And they're still living there, and they call this guy out to. Well, first they had the house blessed, and then that didn't help, and then they called this guy
in their
out.
own faith, because I grew up in that faith. You bless your own house, because it's just a matter of invoking the name. Right.
They were Baptist?
They're Baptist.
They're
Southern Baptist. So that's what I grew up. EMFs, Mina, that's the electromagnetic fields. Like if you go next to your breaker box, we have the detector that like electricians use that'll tell you how high that is. And a lot of people relate that with like ghost activity, like it makes them more active, or a ghost showing up and makes EMFs.
Right. So so they think you can use an EMF detector to detect ghosts, but there's a flip side to that coin, is that high EMFs can interfere with the neurons in your brain.
So for me, a lot of EMFs make me very, very sick.
Yeah. So, they can make you feel physically ill, paranoid, kind of weird. And it turns out so can infrasound, but that's...
Nausea and headaches are the two big ones I notice with EMF.
Well, and the big one was when we were at the movie theater with you, because you go up into he's like, you can't even use an EMF detector up here. And we're like, why? Oh, my God.
Yeah, you could literally feel the buzzing.
Yeah, it's just... Whoa, 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 whoa.
How an EMF is fixed, if in a home, shielding.
Well, there's a few things you can do, and then there's kind of some stuff you just have to live with.
Electronics work.
Yeah.
My mom's house has crazy high EMFs, and really, there's nothing she can do without sinking a ton of money.
Yeah, you can do better shielding in the walls. You can there's paint you can buy to put on the walls that helps, like latex paint will help insulate. Because it's got that like rubber in it. Just changing, like turning more things off, like when you leave the room and things like that, not having certain types of electronics. Some of it you just kind of have to live with, but knowing that's what's going on also helps. Like if like you get physically ill, so that would really suck. Most people just get like really kind of paranoid, but knowing what's causing it is enough of a relief that it's like, okay, we don't need to fix it. I know what it is, and you don't feel paranoid anymore.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, and that's just, that was just my initial thought. I was like, okay, it's probably EMF, because I had looked at the satellite photos on Google, and they had the big,
box out front of their house.
The junction box for the neighborhood was like right in their front yard, which usually gives off a lot. And it turned out to be totally contradictory to that once we got in there. We found out it was something totally different for their case. But, so they had the house blessed. It didn't do a whole lot, and then they had this guy come.
It can make you nauseous. I think I understand a problem I have now. There's this certain place that I'm at every day, and that could be a reason why. Yeah, some people are more sensitive to it.
We can test you for that.
Yeah.
Or you can test yourself for that. Just go turn on the microwave for 30 minutes and stick your face up against the glass.
Then you become the Hulk.
Yes.
I did that while I was pregnant with Andrew. Every time I microwave something, I'd stick my stomach up against the microwave.
Oh, my God.
I wanted him to be the Hulk. That's a joke, people.
I think that's child abuse.
That's a joke, people. Do not call CPS. I'm not sticking him in the microwave these days, though. He's too big.
That's because that's the reason. So what all this guy do? Do you remember the story?
He
continue on for me, minion.
He convinced them that because their child was not yet baptized, because if you don't know, Baptists don't baptize babies, that the demon could get their child. Not them, because they're baptized, but the demon that was cohabitating with them could, I don't know, eat their baby. He made them get rid of any Disney stuff they had.
The list, okay, so he made them throw out, he's like, all these things are occult
basically
related.
Every cartoon, like freaking Paw Patrol.
If he had gone in and been like, the problem is this Ouija board. Like, even though that's stupid, it at least kind of makes sense. Or, hey, those tarot cards you have laying out.
I could make a case for a Ouija board that someone had been using, and like that had started it, because maybe if they toss it, that's going to make them think it's gone, right? Mm-hmm. Or let's say they're
tarot cards.
Or let's say they collect antiques.
Yeah.
And something started when they got this antique dresser. Okay, toss the antique dresser.
There's a ghost attached to the antique.
Literally cutting up
but
every
that was not
your kid owns.
Yeah, that was not this dude's game. He was like, Disney is of the devil because there's 3 6s in Walt Disney's name.
Which isn't true. His name is letters. Stupid.
I don't think this guy can read good. Anyway.
Walt Disney is all letters.
So they threw out all the Disney movies first off.
The other cartoons is what got me. Is like, what did Paw Patrol do?
Yeah, they had to get rid of all the Paw Patrol stuff.
I understand that if you've ever had to watch Paw Patrol for 48 hours straight, you might want to burn everything Paw Patrol, but
Hey, Marianne. Yeah. Made him throw out Paw Patrol. Made her throw out her Little Mermaid
everything
dolls.
mermaid related.
Because they were shapeshifters.
Yes.
And so that's occult related. That's the devil. Made him get rid of old family pictures. Made him get rid of...
And like going into these people's house,
animals.
like they're well off.
Yeah.
But they have nothing.
Yeah, that house was like bare. Like it was a good sized house.
Yeah.
But it felt minimalist, didn't it?
Yeah, it felt very Spartan, and like.
And when we went in my first before they told us all that, my first impression was like, oh, this is just like how they like their house or whatever.
Or I thought, okay, they're showing their house.
Right? No, that wasn't the case at all.
No.
It's they had just got done throwing away like 90% of their belongings, and I felt in the husband. It just looked beaten down because you could tell he's like, man, I didn't want to do that, but
they were obviously very desperate and
they
scared.
were desperate, and it really struck me when we were talking to the wife. It's hard not to call him by name, the wife, because she was just real emotional about it.
Every time she talked about it, her voice would quaver.
Yeah, and you could tell they were just trying to do everything they could to make it go away, feel better, do the right things, because this is what they were told was going on. And it didn't escalate to the point of, okay, we should probably get out of this house, until it was like, your baby's going to be taken by the devil.
And this guy...
And whether you believe in this crap or not, if somebody looks you in the face like deadpan serious and tells you that, and you've had like some weird things you can't explain going on, you might be prone to believe it or just go, well, I'm not taking chances.
Like, you remember those stories I told you about when Caitlin was little and all the stuff she'd say about what was going on in her room? Like, I'm not a big believer, but even then, I pulled her out of that bedroom. And if someone had come to me and been like, hey, demon can eat your baby, I might have been like, I might move out just to be safe.
Yeah. So
I don't want to risk that.
So this house is on the market. We're in this really Spartan house, and we're getting told this horrible story.
And, like, they're smart people. They're smart people.
Yeah, so that was the thing that surprised me. So, like, he sent all the videos to me, and I'm like, maybe these guys aren't real.
But he's, like, good at tagging his EVPs. He's like, yeah, my stomach rumbled. I tagged
He
it.
was as good. I mean, it's not like scientific proof, right?
Yeah.
But he was as good at doing his stuff as we are what I would consider a professional
Haiti
investigator.
says, if someone ever suggested throwing away Disney stuff because it is occult related, I'd throw them out. It's scary he thinks like that and goes around telling people this stuff. His childhood must have been super fucked up in that mindset. Them damn dorks are scary. And Julie says, please tell me they're going to sue this jerk. The problem is they can't. He didn't take any money from them, and it was just a suggestion he gave, because that was my thought too, is how do we rail this guy?
Yeah, because that's the thing, is what's the angle? Like, you think everybody that does weird, like, just
think
vile
he was trying
crap,
to make money.
Yeah, you think like, oh, this guy's got to have like a motive, and I don't think people understand that sometimes the motive is just their own ego.
I said it once, I'll say it a billion times. The scariest thing is not a con. It's a true believer.
Yeah.
It's someone who believes their own BS, and that is what that guy is.
Well, here's the deal. So I did a lot of research on the guy, and he's not a criminal or anything like that. He's just a moron. But the thing is he did have a fucked up child. Like, that's a really good observation of that, because the reason he does what he does now is because he
states that as a child he was involved in the occult. I'm not sure how much of this is true.
I don't know, but he said that he used to do like animal sacrifices and used to do like devil worship,
and this is all
and stuff
very
like
public
that.
Info.
I
didn't do very much research on this dude, because
a lot of it's on his own website.
Yeah.
And if you're wondering why we haven't said his name or whatever, we're not calling him out by name yet, because we're still getting all of our facts. I've got most of the facts, but I want to get all my ducks in a row before.
Can we really rail on somebody who believes his own crap? He's not extorting people.
Yeah, I mean, nothing will come of it, but I do want to let this guy know what a dirtbag I think he is, and that these people were moving back into their house after.
It's dirtbaggy to make someone scared about their kid.
That's what bothers me.
That's
about
my line.
My line's not even when somebody goes in and tells you have ghosts and paranormal activity in your house, as stupid as that is. My line is when you make somebody afraid of your own environment to the point like what happened. So, but anyway, they told us about and we tabled that, and we did the investigation was actually really interesting too. So, they didn't want to sit around for 4 hours and listen to it. They're just like, okay, here's the keys. We're going to go get drunk.
Yeah.
And I think we made them feel better before they even left.
Their kid was
night.
super cute too.
Oh yeah, That was a happy baby.
The real problem I see with it is even no matter what we do.
I look great in blue, by the way.
I noticed.
It's my Adventure Time shirt.
The problem I noticed, and I'm glad we helped them a little, is whatever the first person says to you is gospel. I don't know if you've noticed this trend, but
that's a psychological thing, and that's the if your parent, like when you ask your parents questions as a kid or whatever, and your parent gives you some half-assed, half-baked answer or whatever, you carry that with you for life. It doesn't matter if your teacher tells you something different in school.
I thought the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was a real story until I was 30 because my dad told me it was.
Yeah. Typically the first information you get is what you view as right. That's a real psychological thing.
Tammy says, so what did you guys find out about what was really going on? So some interesting stuff, though. It was really interesting because we've noticed this a lot about certain floor plans in houses, is that there's something about them that's terrifying.
Well, first off, in the first 20 minutes of our investigation, I debunked my own theory about the EMFs there. That place
is EMF free.
It is well insulated, bro. Like, the only place we found EMFs was in the garage next to the breaker box. And you had to get right up on that front thing. And those are usually the big things that kind of cause it. Farthest point away from where most of the activity was localized, too.
Yeah.
So I was like, crap. Now
we checked the attic because we thought it might be critters or...
Yeah, and you know what? That's the first time I've actually climbed up in the attic and did that thorough. This was a good investigation for me because I had a lot of motivation to be really thorough, because this is one of the few investigations where the people were really scared and the stakes were really high to figure out what was going on and not just give a bunch of like half-assed answers, you know? Because the goal wasn't just to debunk, but to actually have the right answer at the time. So we did I went up in the attic, I checked all the pipes, all the air conditioning, all that stuff. And we checked all the EMFs of the house. And
so basically what we found out is that their house is loud.
Right.
It is insanely loud.
Right. You were talking about, so this open floor plan, everything echoes. You can hear a mouse fart
and there's
from
that
the kitchen.
Video of us, and you can see when the noise happens, we jump because the flashlight goes.
No, it doesn't.
Rah!
I didn't jump.
But
There's no jumping.
It's so loud. It sounds like someone's banging on the wall behind your head.
Yeah. Because a lot of the videos we got from the client where no one's in the house and everything's just dead quiet, and you hear like pop, pop, bang, pop, you know, and a lot of it you can't always trust what the client gives you, because, you know, it's filmed with like this GoPro thing and have a great a microphone on it, so you can't really gauge. Like, you're like, okay, it sounds really loud in the video, but is it really that loud?
It is really that loud.
Or is the camera just really close to the thing that's making the little pop? And they weren't all consistent. Like, if it always had the same sort of thing, then you could kind of, because like
it's a lot of different sounds.
Yeah, some of them I was like, I think that's the air conditioner, like, because you could hear it kick on and you hear like, and it was like the air going over.
It sounds like a monster in the duct.
Oh, it sounded horrible. It sounded like whispering.
Like, I got really wigged out about halfway through.
Yeah, so after what, you know, we do some EVP work or whatever. We didn't get. Actually, we got a couple of things that sounded like whispers. We were like, man, that's really probably contamination.
Yeah.
Let's just sit here and listen and see really hard and see how this goes. So we go and we sit in there, and sure enough, as soon as we just settle down and get quiet in the haunted room, pop. No, that's just something. Okay, if there's something here, do that now. Pop! What? No, this is horrible. And we just sit there like dumbasses for a while, like, I don't want to go in there. So we do our rounds of photographs, and there was no dust.
Yeah, there was very little orbs there.
Yeah, one of the things was we were trying to debunk orbs, because he sent me a bunch of pictures of orbs, but and this is why I say he was probably one of the better clients I've had when they collect their own evidence, because he didn't send me a single dust particle orb at all. The things he sent me weren't orbs, but he just doesn't understand how the shutter on his camera works. They have night lights all
It was the
over
streaking
their house.
thing.
Yeah. And what it is when you take
Yeah,
pictures.
you can tell they're terrified by the sheer amount of night lights in their home.
Oh yeah,
I have
around
never seen
every
so
corner.
many night lights. There's like 4 in one room. I'm like, what is going on?
We had
here?
to unplug them all to do our investigation. But
What y'all do? I unplugged 30 night lights.
it turns out the night lights were part of the activity
problem, yeah.
because they're all on that where the light goes out and it comes on. And so what's happening is you can tell the dude's a little nervous about taking pictures in a room he's uncomfortable in because it's causing the shaking that's doing that. And since it's completely dark, the shutter stays open longer to get a better picture. And so a combination of that plus that sensor
nightlight coming on.
the sensor, it'll bup. And so it looks like these dots all along. And so I had to go to great pains to replicate. Like I got the exact same shot. I got this really cool picture of you like sitting there, and like the light like streaks out of you. I'll bring them up here in a minute. So we were able to replicate everything like on command except for a couple of the banging sounds that we can get. But
the fridge was loud. The AC was loud. Just
So what we did is we relegated ourselves to just sit there and like film and be quiet and wait for these like banging sounds and then go look for where is this banging sound.
And the other thing we
actually
did
coming
is
from.
I went and stood where we thought it was coming from. And then you sat in the other room and we like communicated back and forth. Hey, I heard it. Was it this?
Right, yeah. It like in to compare it, like because the first thought was okay, it's the refrigerator cycling on because you'd go in the other room and it would kind of sound like it but quieter. And so you stood by it and you're like, okay, it cycled on. I'd be like, no, I didn't hear the noise, so it's not the cycling on. And here, anyway, there were some soft ones that were kind of hard to identify, and then there were some loud ones that were terrifying. And me and you were both like, I don't want to go because that's just like, and it was like in response to a question,
And it really sounded like it was.
yeah. Well, here, let me do this.
He's bringing stuff up.
Yep.
So I'm sitting.
So
here.
here's the video. This is us sitting in the what we're calling the most active room, right, where they have the worst feelings and everything. And we've been hearing sounds for like the last 30 minutes or whatever. And they're not they're loud, but they're not like too loud or whatever. And then we're sitting there and I'm like, okay, let's wait. Let's see. And I think I had just asked like, okay, do it louder if you're here. And then and we're sitting there just kind of waiting for a second, and then this happens. I do jump. You can totally see me jump in there. I'll play it again. Oh, you know what? Y'all didn't hear it because I got the desktop audio muted. Okay, I just fixed it. All right, so this is what happens.
That's loud.
So that's a really loud knock, and it sounds so stupid when you're like watching a video and we're talking about it. But can you imagine like being in your house in the middle of the night?
Can you imagine being a 3-year-old in that house in the middle of the night?
And all of a sudden it's just blam, blam, pow, right in the kisser, you know. But you know what sparked it? They lived there a year and they weren't having that problem, and then all of a sudden they started having that problem. And it makes sense on the timeline of it. Like unless you're experiencing something, it always seems that's why you call an investigator out, because it's a third party set of eyes to look at it different, because things are very different in experience. But that was a loud sound and it startled us. And it took us like a good 20 minutes to really kind of like trace that down, because the first place we checked was the fridge. Mm-hmm. And like Julie said, you know, the ice maker sound, but we knew the ice maker was off because they thought that too. And it was still doing that. So it took a little investigating to kind of figure out what that was, and what it turned out is it is the fridge, but not what we thought. Like, we thought the compressor was going out. What it is the water line that goes to the ice maker and the indoor water thing. It's not clamped down in the back, so when the water pressure changes, that water line slaps up against the wall. And man, knowing that, I should have recognized it right from the beginning, because my last refrigerator used to do that, and I never thought twice about it. And I was just too lazy to ever get it changed. Mike complained about it constantly. He's like, "Yeah, I'll be like asleep, and it'll just blap." And I'm like, "Oh yeah." So like after we saw it, I was like, "Oh, that is crazy." So that was like one thing. But there was one video they sent me where you hear this like loud, thunderous, like boom, 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 like somebody banging on the door. And I can't show you that clip because one of them is in it. But she like goes over towards the back to go look, and then in the corner you see something.
Yeah, come at something, walk, and then go back.
And they like looked at it and looked at it and looked at it and looked at it, and finally came to the conclusion that it was demonic, because his brother was like, "It looks like a hooved foot." And you got to remember, he got an EVP of something that sounded like a pig growling, or whatever. Just
how very Amityville.
Yeah, which we've got that before too, and it's our stomach growling.
Yeah.
But he said he thought of that. But
yeah, he said he was tagging stomach growls. But we could also hear the neighbor's dogs really loud.
That was one of the other claims. Is she was in the kitchen and she heard a bark, but it was like right here. But that's the crazy thing about that house, is there's no noise insulation at all on that
anyways,
side
the thing
of the
in the
house.
video was their kid. It was their kid.
Yeah, it was their kid.
Don't sit around thinking that was a ghost. It was their child.
Oh yeah. Memory's a weird thing, because you remember things one way.
And what had happened was, from the mom's vantage point, she couldn't see the kid. So what the kid had done is popped up when she heard the noise.
We had to recreate the video like in real time to figure out how this could have happened, because she heard the bang.
And then she goes around the corner.
She looks over the counter and she can see her kid in the living room watching TV.
Yeah, kid's sitting there. So
and then
she goes around.
She goes around.
And what happens is, under the bar thing, the kid runs and then turns back. And by the time the mom turns around, kid's sitting back in the living room.
Right. Looks like the kid never moved at all. And so it was just this weird comedy of errors that like got there. And I think what happened is, I think somebody banged on the door or something like that. Or I think at least two of the claims, I think somebody tried to break into their damn house. Which also worried me, because the security system thing had come off and gone off, and then the police didn't catch anything. And then in that other video, that happened like the next day. Somebody banged on the door. I think somebody was casing their house. That's why I asked that really kind of odd question. It's like, you don't have any neighbors that would screw with you or anything like that. And so that's also a worry I have going into residential investigation, is somebody messing with you, is somebody like trying to get into your property or something. Like, there's always the human error. What comment are you reading?
Marianne just said, "I have seen and heard things in my old house in the kitchen all the time. My daughter's friends were afraid to stay over. I live in Florida now, and I'm seeing a child that goes under the table and makes sounds dinging off the metal cabinet and food pantry." Yeah,
but those open floor plans, like you can't pin down noises easily, because that refrigerator bang, that was loud. Still took us like 45 minutes, actually longer than that, really, to figure out where it was coming from.
House was, they didn't have corners. The corners were flat,
and everything was odd angled too. Like going into that bathroom, there was this like weird odd angle, and they're like, "Well, every time I walk in there, it feels weird." And it's like, yeah, dude,
that's because it's weird.
You have like this extra room at a 45-degree angle just watching you every time you walk in there. I mean, it was it wasn't a good floor plan. Like, it was open and it was spacious and it was awesome, but as far as like wandering around in the dark when you're creeped out, that in that sense, it was a really bad floor plan. But the main thing we found out, I might actually have the case report still up on the thing. So of all those things, None of that was really the problem. You know, we figured out one thing that was banging. We figured out one instance where it was just kind of a misunderstanding. The angles of the room are weird. The photography's just not real good, you know, so they're really just connecting dots. But they still have this sort of like depression and worry, and there is like a thing kind of going on there. Mm-hmm. And what really got me is the AC unit. And which is where I started. I thought it was EMFs from the AC unit. I don't know why it didn't occur to me right off the bat what was going on. But you would hear the AC click on the other side of the house, like off in the distance. And then you would hear this like monstrous demonic airflow as it like went through all the ducts. And then the suction would start where the return was on the opposite side of the house. And what's causing that is because the duct from the return to the main unit is so long, it takes a while for that suction to happen. And because of the shape of the house, it causes this weird air pattern through the whole house. So weird, in fact, it creates infrasound. Like massive amounts of infrasound. Like it was nuts in there. And I couldn't, until I figured that, I couldn't pinpoint like what was making me uncomfortable about it. And they had said some of the doors closed on their own.
Yeah, and he had said that's the return.
Yeah. He said they closed on their, and he knew it was from the draft. He knew there was a suction there, and he was warning us about it. He's like, yeah, that's not a go. We know that's just the air. So I don't know why it didn't click sooner, but the infrasound in there was nuts because it hovered like right around that 14 to 17 hertz sort of area, which is that real super paranoid sort of feeling that you get. And if you guys don't know a lot about infrasound, which you should if you watch us at all, but you know, it still sound like you don't hear it, but it still vibrates your eardrum, which still sends a signal to your brain, which makes your brain go, hey, there's something wrong. And it makes you like paranoid and kind of like,
yeah, because I told you halfway through that investigation, I was like, I don't know why, but I feel very unnerved.
Yeah, and we kept hearing like that whispery sound. Mm-hmm. The EVPs we got, we tracked down what that came from. It came from the air vent.
Marion says her conditioner sounds like something's whispering. It's hard to debunk.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. The air that was coming out, and like mine does it too, but the air that comes out of the air vent does that kind of like blowing over a bottle sort of effect, but weird. And
we did notice that one of their vents was halfway.
Right, yeah. It's so weird. Like, I didn't think of these things like right off the bat because like I've just experienced them at my house. Like when I have that vent closed, it just goes like.
Yeah, we got a compliment.
What did we get?
Debunking is half the investigation. Only way to validate evidence. Glad to see other people having principles and not just accepting everything.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. But I mean, we had a goal. We had our work cut out for us because somebody else had already come in and told them, you know, a demon was going to take their baby and they were about to sell their house. Like, if we had found anything legitimately paranormal in there, I think unless it was really harmful and we had proof of that, I don't know how I would have told them that.
I would have been fine telling them whatever if we had found something legitimate, but we didn't.
Yeah.
And I believe they were told that if they ever get worried, that we will come back.
Yeah.
Give them my number. I'll go over there anytime because I can't imagine being that scared of your own house.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine that. I moved out of my mom's house because it was terrifying.
And that was from EMF.
Yeah.
Or we think so far. We need to go back and retest. Is that what you tell yourself so you can sleep at night?
Yes, that is what I tell myself so I can sleep at night.
So we debunked the whispering sounds, which was, you know, he had done a lot of EVP work on his own, and then
and he did pretty good work, you know.
Yeah, I was really impressed with the fact that the client did good work for a change. And then the infrasound, it was right in that zone, but it was the really interesting thing to me is it hit that 13-14 section, which that's the one that vibrates the fluid in your eyeballs.
Makes you see stuff.
That's really hard to do, by the way. Like, to have that much infrasound in your house, like, he's got the perfect storm of just, hey, my house is going to feel as uncomfortable as humanly possible at all points in time. I see you reading.
So it says, so before we go on an investigation, we should check everything, including air conditioning units, ducts.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because we went out early enough, like it was during the day. It was not during the creepy portion. We were doing that with, hey, show us everything about your house that you know, and then we're gonna tear your house apart and look for things. We were paying attention to like how much dust was on the, and there were some areas like
that was a meticulously clean house, man.
It was like in the bedroom. The console was a little bit
just
dusty.
Saying,
but
I've never seen that little dust in a house ever.
It was just so barren and like sad. Like it.
I want to go take them a case of Disney movies.
I thought about that, but I can't afford it. So that's the tragedy of it, is all this stuff that they threw out. If you put a dollar value to that,
it's a good couple thousand.
They just
Disney
threw
crap's
away
expensive.
a fortune. Like I'm from the era of Disney VHSs. Mm-hmm. I know it's Blu-rays now, but they're like $25 a piece, if not. And
kids' toys. Oh my god. Because Caitlin was just deep into Disney for a few years, and that crap is so expensive.
Yeah, and they just they wrecked that poor little girl because she was probably just bored.
Yeah. Well, Julie says, so could the infrasound issues be fixed?
Okay, so yeah, if you could change. In this case, the fix for it isn't like changing the house. Like you can't fix the infrasound and make the infrasound go away. But the typical advice that I give for making infrasound more livable is you need to include ambient sound into the environment. So what you're doing is
white noise.
Huh?
White noise.
Yeah. So
well, the question would be,
they've got like the sound generators, or you can play a radio in the back or something. And what it does is it provides something for you to hear, so your brain doesn't wig out.
The question I would ask is, if the infrasound is that bad and you have the capability of selling your house, is that what you are going to end up having to do to not be in a bad mood all the time?
No. Like, so if you can introduce regular sound into the environment, infrasound is always there. Like what we're doing also produces infrasound. The difference is that there's regular sound that you can hear with it. It's an accompaniment. The problem with what was going on in that house is when it got quiet, all you would get is infrasound. That's what makes you sick, is when the only stimuli you're getting, or when the infrasound exceeds the amount of regular sound. So what you have to do is you have to increase the other level. So you have to, like, it would suck if you're like a person who can't sleep with the TV on or some kind of ambient noise in the room, because then you're screwed. Then I would say you're gonna have to move or change.
I have political commentary after the show. So.
You do what?
I said I have political commentary for after the show.
Political commentary.
Okay, our president said,
that
windmills cause, but he stumbled across something that, not the way he said it is factual, but
windmills cause
infrasound.
Windmills cause infrasound. Airplanes cause infrasound.
I just thought it was interesting that by being that goofy. I mean, even a broke clock is right twice a day. So
yeah,
not cancer, but it'll make you feel like
anyway. To answer that question, though, the most practical solution for infrasound is you increase the amount of regular sound on a regular basis. So if an ambient room has more infrasound than regular sound, you need to do something like have a TV playing in the background, or a radio, or get like one of those wave machines, or a white noise generator.
Just something.
Yeah, something to help drown out. That's why people don't feel creeped out during the day.
Because there's so much other stuff going on.
There's traffic. In that place, you could hear traffic like night. They were like, oh, I don't... Because we stood there for a minute, and you're like, well, I don't really hear the traffic. But when you're just sitting in there quiet, damn, do you hear the traffic.
And it is a busy road for such a small little neighborhood.
I immediately thought of Pet Cemetery. Just sitting there. Like, we couldn't even get out of the car.
Don't cross the road.
Like, as soon as we were sitting there, like, waiting for him to show up, because we got to the house before him. And I'm like, okay,
poor
everything's good. And we go, by the way, that premieres tonight.
I got that tattoo.
Pet Cemetery. Yeah,
Pet
oh yeah, that's
Sematary
right. You
tattoo.
got Gage Creed's
Shoe. But I
shoe
heard
on
they
your back.
changed the new movie, so I'm going to have to change my tattoo.
Oh, to the daughter. It's not Gage that dies anymore.
I know.
That's not like a huge spoiler.
No,
by the way.
and I'm okay with it because,
It's hard to find an actor that young that can act.
Well, and
not be
I really
silly.
enjoyed the changes they made in the It movie, so
Yeah.
I'm thinking I'll let them handle it.
It's the same producers.
Anyway, sidebar there. But I really do hope that we helped these people. Like, I'd understood if they moved, but
EVP's not who. Well, what did he say before? Yes, pre-walkthrough and exam should be done before an investigation.
they said most times you note it in case it comes up on. He meant EVPs.
Oh yeah, the pre-walkthroughs are super important. Now, I don't know if I've seen you on our podcast before, but if you're not familiar with the way we do our investigations, usually, we're a science group. You know what? I think this was one of the few times where our particular brand
Actually was very helpful.
was probably the most helpful thing to somebody ever, because most people don't like, because no psychics, none of that. We don't have any of the woo.
Yeah. Helio says, I haven't been able to comment this entire show because I was driving, but this guy has pissed me off and I didn't want to have to deal with it.
You have no idea how mad I was a few days ago.
And Julie says that might be I don't like the quiet. And the book is the reason you weren't allowed in the front yard, Brad. Pet Cemetery is the reason that she did not want you playing in the front yard because you might get hit by a truck.
Maybe that's why she made my sister play out there all the time.
Well, now we know who the favorite is.
Mm-hmm. No, man. Yeah, this guy just ticked me off. I'm curious your thoughts on all that, Emilio, actually. But I lost my train of yeah, just like the our brand of investigation where we're only about the facts. Like, period, wherever they take us. Whether we still end up with a question at the end of the night or if we're able to answer everything. Ultimately the goal is to have an answer for everything. But it's cool when we don't.
Yeah, we're not really looking for ghosties. It's just a thing that happens as happenstance of debunking everything else.
Yeah.
And even then we don't call it ghosties. It's just things we don't understand.
It falls under the column of things we couldn't debunk.
I was thinking about the Disney connection, though. Like, I remember as a kid growing up in the church, a bunch of people had a hard-on for Disney being evil.
I don't know. There's the thing about Disney being an anti-Semite. The 3 6s in his name. You know how the O is like on the logo? I don't know if he actually wrote it that way.
The thing about it when I was a kid was that Disney had a gay day.
Oh, yeah.
A day where they... I don't know, were homosexuals not normally allowed in the park, or did they have a special day? But our church boycotted everything Disney, and my dad kind of left, and he went, that's stupid. Everything's Disney. You can't boycott everything Disney.
Especially now because they bought Fox and they own Merrimack and everything. Everything is Disney.
Dude, Cujo is the reason I keep a whole case of bottled water in my car. Yeah, Jen says, hey, Cujo is the reason I don't like to leave the kids with our dogs, even though the dogs protect them. Yeah, I carry Brad's been in my car. I just have a ton of bottled water in my car. I call it Cujo water.
I hope that's one of the next movies on the list that they decide to remake.
Ironically, we had a dog named Cujo that had to be tested for rabies.
Yeah, but it makes me sad because wasn't that a rot? It wasn't a Saint Bernard.
No, he was a Rottweiler, but it was just because of the name.
Why does everybody name their Rottweiler Cujo? It makes me mad.
I didn't name the dog.
It was a Saint Bernard.
I didn't name the dog, Brad.
You let it happen. You failed me for the last time.
The person who named him was like 14, so...
But yeah,
Too sad was mine.
Yeah, I got off on a tangent, but I was talking about the pre-walkthrough. The pre-walkthrough is pretty important, but the way we work, usually on our investigations, only a few of us in the group go on the pre-walkthrough because part of the control thing is somebody not being used to the environment. So, like, in the case of the investigation we're doing tomorrow night, since all the history of it is pretty public, I mean, I don't think there's anybody in our group that doesn't know it was a helium plant and a military base. So
it's the specific ghost stories we don't want people to know.
Right. So we're not going to tell people in our group that. But I think we're going to keep a couple of them from doing the daytime pre-walkthrough, at least. You know, we might point out, well, we just won't let them wander around. I don't want them to fall into a hole.
Yeah.
But we're not going to give them the sort of walkthrough. You know, we want them to experience the fear of not knowing what's around that next corner or where the next hallway goes to. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's important not to do a pre-walkthrough, but only like, but we have a control in place in our group. Like some of us know what's going on, some of us know the previous ghost stories and the history, and then some of us go in as a complete blank slate to see, because we look at things from a psychological angle too. We want to know, is the psychology making people have a paranormal experience?
It turns out that seems to be factually accurate.
It was an easy theory to just like jump on. It's like, yeah, of course that's happening, but I guess we'll prove it. Why not?
Because I used to run that experiment in my house when people came over, and I'd tell them different ghost stories, and sure enough.
Oh my God, I wish we lived in New Mexico right now. Their science museum right now is doing a Science of Fear exhibit, and there's like 15 different there's like a hallway, and there's like these 15 different exhibits you go, and there's like fear of sound.
Yeah,
fear
I
of
saw
height.
that someone had gone in there. One of my friends on the front. I think we're the same person.
Zelda.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
she had
yeah.
taken a bunch of pictures in there. I was like, that's cool.
Yeah, I want our group to go there.
It was a Goosebumps museum.
It was a what?
Goosebumps museum.
Really? Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was a Goosebumps exhibit. Yeah, but it was the Science of Fear. It was real cool how they did it. I really hope the Fort Worth Museum picks up that.
Something like that, yeah.
I'm going to petition them. Hey, you need to do this. Or maybe I just need to go out to New Mexico next weekend or the weekend after next. Oh, shoot. I'm missing 5 comments. What's going on?
They were talking about the inappropriateness on the cover of the Little Mermaid video from when we were children.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
And then Marion says, David and I would like to do an investigation with you guys.
Eh?
Is she out in Florida?
Yeah.
If we ever come out to Florida?
Why would I go out to Florida?
I don't know.
I don't need any meth.
I don't want to be sweaty.
I hate Florida.
I've never been to Florida.
Ugh.
Steven says it's sweaty.
It is. Florida is just like America's taint.
I don't know. I've driven through the deep south with no AC.
Texas isn't much better with the heat and all. It's a dry heat, I guess.
Oh, God. I hate it when people say it's a dry heat. It's not. It's humid as here.
It's just horrible is what it is. Texas is awful.
This state is trash.
It's just big. But yeah, so that residential happened, and we ran across this guy, and like, it's even more vindicating for me to hate this guy after doing it, the most thorough investigating we've ever done on a residential, in determining there's nothing wrong, nothing at all explainable.
It's like the first time we've ever been to be able to go, there's nothing, absolutely nothing. We know for sure.
I can't think of a single place we've ever been where in the first night we were like, yeah, I got it. Like,
even then, we still tell people that because it's our only time out there.
And that's the thing I was like, look, there's nothing to say that you weren't having a legitimate experience before we showed up, but I don't see anything there now.
Marion says she has AC, so if we go out to Florida, we have to investigate a place with AC. This is a rule.
But we'll rule out whispering and
popping noises,
and sucking noises. And she already said her refrigerator makes weird noises too. So, I don't know.
But yeah, because we're only out there for one night, there could be something going on. But when we were there is absolutely no evidence.
I always feel really weird telling a client that we didn't find anything, and the things we found, these are the answers to it. Because I always feel like there's going to be some kind of lashback of, well, no, I know something. Because we kind of get that sometimes. That happens a lot. It does happen a lot, but we haven't been in a situation where people were scared or whatever. So I felt really awkward giving this case report out saying, no, we really found answers for every single thing that you were concerned about, and we don't think there's anything harmful or whatever. And I was just stoked that the response was, thank you very, very much. Like, this makes us feel 1,000 times better. And I've continued to talk with them, and I think they decided they were going to go back and stay in the house for a couple nights and see how they felt about it and things like that. But I think he said his wife calmed down a lot. So I think good information and good investigation work
What would be
really
super
helped.
helpful is boneheads not going in people's houses and telling them demons are going to harm their children.
So okay, I want to flip the discussion down around for a minute. So say you do believe in paranormal stuff, and I mean that guy probably sat in that house and heard some of the same noises we had. But one thing that pissed me off about his website is he said, "Well, I don't use any occult things in my investigation." So that includes Ouija boards. He won't do
Dowsing rods is another.
He won't use dowsing rods. He won't use a digital recorder because he equates that to the same thing as
A Ouija board.
A Ouija board. He says anything that you use in an attempt to contact the spirit world is considered occult. So basically, he won't use an EMF detector. He won't do any sort of
An EMF detectors for electricians.
But if you're looking for ghosts with it, it's occult. That's where it gets really hairy because I listened to this. He actually interviewed on the same paranormal show that I got radio show that I got interviewed on, the X Zone. And Rob McConnell kind of like laid into him a little bit because he was such like a moron. But he's like, okay, so you go in and how do you investigate? He's like, well, I go in there and I just kind of talk to the spirits using my own energy.
He thinks he's sensitive.
And then I leave or whatever. I don't know what he thinks.
I immediately asked, where did the guy get the idea it's after the child? Because Southern Baptists don't baptize babies. He thinks it's after the kid because the kid hasn't been baptized.
I think because it's an easy target to make somebody afraid, and then he thought they would make him cowboy up, and then he could post another great review.
I think he really
about
believes
how he
his
just
crap.
rode off into the sunset. He's just
His website also says he has a basically 100% has success rate at cleansing houses.
And no, he doesn't.
I know because we met them.
I know, and he the other thing his website and he said in his D magazine interview because he's a D bag was that I only have to cleanse a house once.
I love the
Ever.
list of people they interviewed though because it's everyone on our crap list.
Everyone
on our crap
on
list
our
has got
blacklist.
magazine interviews. So he walks in the house and says whatever he wants without any type of proof. Exactly, Emilio.
That's
what he does.
That's exactly what he does, and then he makes you throw away all your
thousands
things,
of dollars in
all your things,
cartoon paraphernalia.
Like if that lady just had like a collection of strap-ons in her room, those are expensive. I know.
So okay,
you
let's
probably
go back
made her
to
throw
the thing.
those away.
Let's say I'm this dude and I believe in this stuff, and all I do is go into this house and I feel it out. And I'm him. I don't believe in infrasound. It's the devil. So
Right, but you say you're anybody, but you go into you're not us, right?
Yeah.
But you're anybody else, and you're not a fraud, and you're not a jackass. But you really think that there's something maybe dangerous or something weird going on in the house. How do you say that in a way that is ethical, though? I mean,
first off, I don't have them cut up all their fucking Disney stuff.
I mean, I understand I'm really saying put on the other shoe because from our perspective, there is no such thing like that. But you really do believe that there's something going on in their house that is paranormal, and you think it might be or is dangerous. But
Okay,
how do
so
you do it in a way that is
here's
ethical?
what I do. I would explain to them what I felt. I would show them any evidence I did have. And then I would immediately have them contact someone along their lines of faith who could come help them. Then after that happened, I would come back. And I would do it again. And I would repeat the process until it was fixed. If I believed that sort of thing, then I would also believe that they could have their house cleansed.
So you know what the key thing in your explanation was there? You said I would show them the evidence I collected
If I
to
had
support
any.
the. I think you would have to. I think to even have a leg to stand on, you have to have something.
Julie makes
Something.
the point I want to pay.
Oh, yeah,
By
I
his
know.
standards, wouldn't any... Because, okay, so once again, I grew up in the same faith. And any communication with that is not something you're supposed to do. It's not a thing. Just by the logic of communicating with it, you have now invited that into your life.
Yeah.
So why does he think that's okay for him? I'm curious.
I'm going to lean over. I'm going to fix your mic real quick.
What's wrong with my mic?
It's not facing you.
Oh my God.
Well,
Could you not hear me?
It does things.
Could you not hear me?
Shush! I got to edit the audio later.
Anyway, but yeah, wouldn't that mean he's going back on his own crap if he's talking to ghosts?
Well, by real world logic, yes. But
by crazy pants logic.
But we're talking about somebody that, thinks Disney movies are of the devil.
The other thing I found on his webpage is that he thinks dream catchers,
oh my
like the
God,
Native American dream catchers, are portals
to the other side
that allow demons into your home. Dream catchers.
Oh my God, Julie. Occult!
I forgot what Allie said about it that was so funny. What are you bringing up now?
Oh, I was going to look up some of the, the photos. I've got his actual case file up here. I've got some of the audio, too. I can show some of the photos that he sent. Let me do this. Put up your guest camera. I'm going to do that there, and then I'm going to close that there, and I'm going to open up some pictures. Look at me. These are some of the photos he sent us that got us. You keep talking about your thing. I'm just going to kind of show some of the photos he sent.
That was all I had. Just doesn't that make him a butthole? Just
it's by his own logic. But the thing is you don't have to fit into your own logic when you're.
It's really hard for me to put on that shoe because even as I used to be a believer. I used to be very deep into that, and even when I would not have done the things he's doing. So I don't know how to put on that other shoe because even when I was more like him, I did not act like him.
And so, like this picture I'm showing here, he was concerned about this because he's like, okay, these are better orbs than I've seen anybody else, and I'm like, yeah, you're taking a picture of light, and he didn't understand how they straight. So, like I said, he was really good about his investigation sort of thing because he didn't send me any dust or whatever, but he was making the same mistakes that we see other investigators make. He was also a little predisposed to some of the stuff because he said he had watched Ghost Adventures and things like that before. I can't see the comments. So.
Oh, I'm looking up something. Marianne told me to look up something real quick. I was just, while you were doing that, I was looking it up.
So these were the main pictures I was trying to reproduce. Oops, I actually showed a picture of the client there. This was one picture he sent me, and this is kind of an example of your memory is kind of fickle, right? Because you may not, you may take a picture or have an experience or whatever, but you don't remember exact. And he was really concerned about this here because he said it looked like a shadow coming out the door. And I said, I don't know, it looks like something hanging there. He's like, no, I don't think so. We don't normally hang things there. But then, I did an analysis of the photo and took all the shadows out, and it really was a shirt there. Mm-hmm. But luckily, they're logical clients. He's like, oh, okay, it is a shirt. I've had clients where I'll show them that.
And they'll argue, but
they're like, no, it's definitely a shirt demon.
These people are very accepting of our evidence and our explanations, which I appreciate. I always appreciate that.
We did a lot of mono wavelength photography.
I did light painting. I'm proud of myself.
Oh, hold on. I've got a really cool picture.
Oh, we were faking ghost pictures?
Yeah. So this was an example of how you can get so that's me standing there, by the way. But I wasn't standing there. The really cool one is this one here. I don't know if you've got to see these yet.
I saw when you did them. Oh, I guess I didn't see that one because that's me, eh?
Yeah, that's you. That's what you look like walking across the room while we're doing that experiment, and that's what causes that same sort of effect with the lights. People don't understand how the shutter speeds are affected, and these are some of the recreations of
the orbs he was getting.
Yeah, of how.
Can't see the pics. Marianne says.
Huh? Yeah, they're up.
I see them on mine. I don't know if that's just her.
Yeah, I think that's just her. there's your face right there, and you're obviously stationary, but the lights streak. And so we used to make that mistake before too. There was something I was trying to bring up that I thought, the videos he sent is what I was looking for.
Make sure none of them are in it.
Yeah, I can't show any of those, but the knocking in them was very, very loud, which is what mostly got us
I'm glad
there.
they found us, though. Like, I don't know how they found us, but I'm glad they did.
We were recommended. I never asked him who recommended us. Somebody local recommended us, and
I'm just glad they did, and it wasn't a group that was going to go in there and make them even worse.
I do know I was like, he had contacted a couple of groups, and we were the ones that like responded first or whatever. So we have a really good response time on at least me getting back with the client and talking to them and talking them through the situation and things like that. Oh no, I'm pretty stoked about it.
Amelia says, well, if they're going to call you out to investigate, they should take your evidence or lack of and accept it. Otherwise, what's the point? I'd be upset if I spent my time just to have the client dismiss everything I say or share. And that is frustrating. We've had that happen on a few residentials where they're just so sure.
Yeah. Well, and, his group hasn't done any residentials yet.
Probably don't. Probably avoid them.
Yeah. And right before this residential, I was saying, I maybe don't want to do residentials anymore because I don't feel like
I think we generally
help anybody most of the time.
I think in this case we did, and we should do residentials under these circumstances. But as a hobby, no, that's not my thing.
Yeah, because before we were just really hungry for investigations. So we would investigate anywhere that had like a claim of haunting, but we don't get a lot of good.
Shoot, we even investigated places we didn't think were haunted.
Yeah, we didn't. We don't get a lot of good study data out of it. We've gotten most of the data we can get out of it. It's, hey, you're freaked out in your home, sort of thing. I don't know. I say stuff like that, and then I go back on it every time because I'm just always so curious. Because when I hear what they have to say, I'm like, I do want to check that out. Because what if that place is the haunted place?
Well, I've talked about it before. It's like I always think before the next investigation, that's going to be the one.
Yeah, and it never is.
It's never the one.
And then you go to places like Needful. You're like, this is just going to be like a fun thing for a good video this weekend or whatever. And it turns out it's like, oh, crap, that's the portal to hell.
But no investigation has been that one to me yet. The one that proves it. To me.
Oh, yeah. There's nothing that's proved it.
I'm waiting for, that's what I always tell myself, is this next one. It's going to be the one where I see the thing I can't refute.
When that sound came from the kitchen, the way your bowels sounded, it kind of sounded like it proved it for at least 10 minutes. Yeah, no, the one hasn't come along. I don't even think the one we're doing tomorrow is like the one.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun, but I don't think...
Right.
Because like Dad made a good point is like in creepy abandoned buildings, they're never scary. It's always the stupid place. It's always the place where you're like, oh, nothing's going to happen. Yeah, it's like always something ridiculous.
Hey, our Starbucks is haunted. Whatever, dude. No, come check it. Like, you know what I was expecting? You know what I was expecting when we went to Yoakum and that lady said the hotel had something going on? I was like, that's where we're going to find something.
Yeah, it's going to be the hotel. But it really backs up the whole theory I have that ghosts aren't dead people. Because it seems to have no basis on what this building was, what it was before, who's died there. It seems to have no basis in that. It seems to be completely random.
Right, which in my head means it has nothing to do with our physical three-dimensional space. Like, the more and more I do this, and it sounds so hokey and so weird, but the more and more I do this, the more I lean towards
interdimensional beings,
like overlapping dimensions.
Me too. That's where
there's like an alternate thing that overlaps with us. That just like bleeds through at these really random times.
But scientifically, I mean, that's not. It's a pretty understood that is a thing.
Yeah, and there's a lot of research. There's a lot of math that really supports the fact that there are not only multiple dimensions like a multiverse, but that they're overlapping and touching, and that the gravity and energy from both of those universes affect each other. We can see instances in space where there's instances of gravity that we don't understand. And I'm not even just talking about black holes, but it's like, why are things attracted to that? Well, mathematically, it's because you have these like two overlapping bubbles, and it's really weird. I mean, I talked about it on the time travel episode, and I'll end up talking about it again.
I really like that stuff. Like, I'm particularly drawn to shows about dimensional stuff.
But when you bring that up in normal conversation, people look at you like you're supposed to be wearing a tinfoil hat. And
how is that any crazier than dead people are floating around?
I don't know. I don't understand where the line between that is. Like, if I'm talking about dead people, because I'm doing my Alex Jones impression, all right? The frogs are gay.
That's because of birth control.
Anyway, but I don't understand the distinction. If I'm looking, except I love our paranormal conventions. I could say whatever. I could be like,
I could be like, space aliens abducted me, took me to another dimension, and I met my dead grandma. And everybody at the paranormal con would be like, yeah, I know that's happened to me too, bro.
What? No, I was making that stop. That was a joke.
My whole thing's on that. Like, what? Oh my God, I'm just saying stuff.
Have you been reading my diary? Yeah.
Those conventions are so whacked out.
I love them. Those are totally my people. Those are so my people.
You can literally say anything.
Yeah. But in normal conversation, I can look somebody in the face and I can be like, I've seen a ghost. A ghost has happened.
Okay, look someone in the face and say, after my grandpa died, I woke up in the middle of the one night and he was sitting on the foot of my bed. And everyone will go, oh.
Even people that don't believe in ghosts where it will be understand. Okay.
Now say, I think I bumped into something that was in another dimension.
Yeah, I was. You can have the exact same scenario. So I was laying in my bed. It was after my granddad died, and I woke up, and I think an interdimensional being was sitting on my bed, and all of a sudden, the flavor in their mouth just turns.
Marianne wants to know if we're married. Seems like it sometimes.
No.
Oh yeah, Amelia said they're good friends. I am married. And believe my husband was watching. He probably got bored though. He does
probably.
That.
He doesn't support us.
But it is ridiculous that you can say, I bumped into the ghost of my dead grandpa, but you can't say, I think I saw a skinwalker from another dimension. Like, why is one crazier than the other? Okay, maybe if I take the skinwalker part out.
Even then, it doesn't work.
I am dead convinced that's what happened at Kyle. I've been convinced since day one that that's what happened there.
An interdimensional being?
Or that we somehow saw something from another dimension.
Right.
I'm not even sure if we could have interacted with it.
Yeah. It was a visual anomaly, mostly.
Oh, no worries, Marianne. I don't care. Neither does my husband. In fact, I think my husband and you should get married.
I'm cool with it.
Yeah. He's
tall, so he'd be the bear.
Yeah.
But he doesn't grow as good of a beard as I do.
No, he's very patchy.
Yeah.
But I really thought from day one that we had seen, it sounds crazy, but is it less crazy to say a ghost pig ran at us?
You know what? If you were the only person in the whole group that had this craziness happen to you, I'd go, you're the crazy one, right? But the thing is anyone that's been in our group long enough and gone to Kyle a few times eventually has something happen to them, and they're like, okay, you're not nuts.
Yeah.
It's something. Emilio and his brother, they're like 2 visits from Kyle away from getting their card like punched and like just getting sucked into the vortex and being like, so no, you know what? They didn't really catch any evidence, but the first time they went out there, Emilio got wigged out. And they did get an interesting picture.
Catherine says, I don't think that's crazy, but I don't judge anybody's experience. Julie says, was your grandpa the skinwalker? Perhaps.
Grandpa Walker.
Like, if someone's going to tell me a ghost story because I have the multidimensional belief, like, I can't look at them like they're crazy. But I'm always curious what's the logic of dead people hanging out?
So, I have that problem.
That's what throws me.
So, like, my eyes just roll in my head constantly. Y'all are yelling at me all the time. Because I hear it coming this direction. I'm like, that is stupid. You're an idiot. Like, just...
Now tell me what happened to Kyle that time that thing ran.
Yeah, but then I realized, wait a minute, I hunt the paranormal.
Haiti says, I always feel like I sound nuts when I talk about my personal
'Cause you are.
experiences because I'm a pretty logical person, says you. No, just kidding. But when the words come out of my mouth, I feel like I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah.
And I'm the same way too. Like,
Marianne says, guess I've been nuts since I was about 7 then.
and we are, and that's the thing. Like, our entire group, like, we pride ourselves on our logic, right? But you put any of us in a freaking empty room for a couple of minutes and be like, okay, go do EVPs, and I don't want to. Why? Scary things are gonna happen. I mean, even Kristen, who's just like completely,
She's so deadpan, dude.
just bam. No, this isn't a thing. Well, I want you to go into the doll room, and all of a sudden, no, I'm not doing that. Why?
Or my dad, like,
Oh,
because
basement.
I grew up with this man, and he's never had a
Nothing.
ghost thing, anything. But we're like, okay, we're gonna go in the basement. He let me go in the basement by myself, and he was like, "Good luck later."
Your dad,
He's
your dad
terrified
is
of
a
basements.
douche. Your dad is a douche. Don the douche.
And he turned the camera around, and he was like, "My daughter's an idiot."
I mean, first off, he's not wrong. Not the idiot part, just like in general. Like, we do some stupid stuff in the name of, like, I'm going to go find paranormal stuff. Who goes in the dark devil
Well,
basement?
that's like people were talking about the background check thing, and I was like, look, people, we do the horror movie bit every day. Oh, what's that scary noise? I'm gonna go check it out. Pardon me if I want to background check somebody.
Yeah, like how much are we going to press our luck? We're out there looking for demons, and you're getting on my nuts about the fact that I want to see if somebody's got a violent past. Like, one of these is based in reality. The other one, you might not fucking see me again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, because you're nuts.
Marianne says, F that basement stuff. Bad things happen there. And that's what my dad said. He said, there's always the horror movie where they're calling for someone in the basement. They're like, hey, John, are you in the basement? And they don't hear an answer.
And then
well, he says they immediately try to flip on the light switch, and the light switch doesn't work. And then they go downstairs anyway.
They're like, oh, well, that's just a thing. You know why I don't go in the basement? Because Evil Dead. Never go in the Evil Dead basement. If it's a cabin, and it's... Why does a cabin have a basement, first
It's a
off?
crawl space.
Whatever. I'm not going down there. There's going to be a fat old lady with jars of, like, body parts in...
Or a cabin in the woods style. There's going to be a book with Latin in it, and we know you don't
Never
read
the Latin, because it's a cult.
It's a cult.
It's a cult.
It's a cult. Oh my god!
That guy would make you throw away your Latin book.
We said something about maybe having him come to one of our houses.
But I don't want him to know where I live.
He would have a coronary in this room, man.
90% of this stuff is owned by Disney.
He would
now.
just drop dead.
Wow.
And I have literal occult books at my house, so I don't think he'd like that either.
Oh my god. Yeah, I really want to set him up. But I don't want him knowing where I live.
Meanwhile, you won't let me friend him on Facebook to do some research.
Okay, I'm gonna okay it.
Okay. Not that it's any of your business. I already did it.
You jackass. Did you really?
No.
Oh.
I listened to you for once. See if it ever happens again.
I didn't want him trolling our listeners. Okay, so like one of the things that happened when we went after Ben or whatever, for a little while he was going on our page and kind of harassing some of the people or whatever.
No, I don't want this guy to know we're doing whatever because first off, like I said, if he's a true believer, there's no way we can come at this because he isn't doing anything wrong.
He probably thinks science is evil.
The other thing is he's pretty popular.
No, he isn't.
In some circles, he's pretty popular. And
No. Hold on. I'm going to debunk that right off the bat. I did a lot of research on this guy. He does what I did to network us in the very beginning.
Act like you know something?
Yeah, you play it off like you're already the shit. That's how you start the following, okay? When we first started doing this or whatever, and we had like our 10 people that paid attention to us, I was like, okay,
It's 8 now.
we're straight into this. That's how we did it, and more people got on board. That's what he's doing. It's not working. I looked. He's got 18 subscribers. There are 18 people that have bothered to click subscribe. 2 of those subscribers are his alternate account. So I don't want to hear it.
I just didn't want to start a turf war.
Screw his turf war. I also looked at his page. He's got 6 friends. He hasn't set it up as like a like page thing, so he has no likes. He's got 6 friends, and he has 18 subscribers on his YouTube channel. One of his YouTube videos is his outtakes for
an
his
acting gig,
for his TV gig as a paranormal investigator, where he uses no paranormal investigating. I don't know why D Magazine interviewed this guy.
I think they were scraping the bottom of the barrel there.
No, eventually we are going to call this guy out. Officially, I want to be prepared for debates.
We want more info.
Because the thing is, okay, would you be open to having him on for an interview?
Yes.
And debating back and forth with him? Do you want to be the one that does that? Do you have some things to say?
Yes.
Are you going to get your science shit straight for when that comes up, or?
Why can't you do that part?
Oh, okay. I guess.
What's wrong with my science stuff?
What? I'm the one that does. I just when he has questions.
What's wrong with my science info? I explained the infrasound and the EMFs.
Okay, hold on. Let's practice this for a minute. Okay, I'm this guy.
I don't want to play this game.
I'm Bobby Rush.
I don't like this game. You said his name.
Oh no, did I?
I already texted it to Marianne anyway.
Oh, you bitch. This guy's name is Bobby Rush, by the way. He is the occult specialist. So we are going to call this guy out pretty soon. Oh, what I was talking...
You just did, jackass.
I know. I know. You guys can go do research on him, but don't tell him we're stalking him yet, because we're...
Don't tell him we're stalking him.
Yeah. Don't tell him we're
okay,
going to
ask your question, stupid.
I don't know. What would Bobby do? What would...
Make me burn all my Disney crap.
So you have spirits in your house. I don't believe that ghosts are ghosts. I believe all ghosts are demons pretending to be things that you want them to be so that they can befriend you and then take your soul. You don't believe that?
No, you fucking lunatic.
You
Ghosts
can't do
aren't
that.
real.
You can't do that. We have to be professional.
Oh, sorry.
But I've been in the occult 15 years, and I've seen the effects. There's a fine line between mental health.
If Ouija boards are bad because you're not supposed to talk to ghosts, why do you do it? See, I can hang.
Yeah, everyone will be cool about why. Yeah. The guy's name is Bobby Rush. So yeah, I don't want anybody on attacking this guy. We actually want to handle this. I want to do it better than we did last time.
Mostly because I want to tell him it's entirely inappropriate to make someone scared for their kid.
So on his site, it says he does a 7-day follow-up with his clients or whatever. I find that to be bullcrap because
he didn't follow up with
the client that we have directly worked with.
And Eli says, now all I hear is Hank Hill yelling, damn it, Bobby, Disney ain't a cult.
He says he never needs any investigators to go in and follow up after him. Also false. We had to go in and follow up after him. What I'm worried about is that his claim is going to be that we didn't find anything because he got rid of the demons.
Then what I'd ask is, I want him to let us go in a place first. I want to ask.
He's not going to play our game. He's not going to be interested at all. And the other thing I'm worried, he's going to go around and badmouth us to like those 18 people, and we're going to lose 18 viewers that way. I don't want to lose 18 viewers.
The reason we were mean to the other guy is because he was sending pedophilic threats to.
You know, we never would have known anything about that guy if he just hadn't been a complete D-hole.
But he was committing crimes. If he had just been a crappy investigator, I don't think that would have been such a shit show. But no, he was... there was like a city councilman, and he was threatening the councilman's child with some very gross things.
Okay, so I did out this guy. I did, mainly because I thought it was funny. But... I am going to immediately reach out to this guy, and I'm going to tell him what I think about what he did. And I want you to help me write that letter from our group.
Yeah, because if you do it, he's just going to get mad because you have that way about you.
Good. I want him to be mad. I'm mad. I mean, it doesn't have to be nice, but I guess it should be in a professional manner.
If he's mad, how are we going to get him to talk to? Because there is some.
Oh, he'll have something to say.
There is some
whether
percent
it's directly
chance
to us
that we discuss this with him, and he goes, "You're right. I shouldn't have done that." I know.
What's the percent chance?
5.05.
That seems high. That seems high.
Probably the same % chance of changing someone's mind about a political debate on Facebook.
Oh my, 18 people's like half my following. Screw you. That's like a third.
It might be all of it. Yeah, Catherine says if you got rid of them, why would they have to move? Exactly.
There you go. That's a good point. Yeah, why would they call us out if they felt? I mean, they were not happy. They were not happy with his thing, and I'm worried that he's fabricating his own feedback thing.
I am absolutely certain he is fabricating reviews on his website.
I don't know if he's fabricating, but I think he's cherry picking words.
Oh, he's deleting bad reviews first off
out of them. But okay, no, I was trying to say this carefully. So the city that we did the residential in, the most recent one, I noticed one of the reviews on his site had the same city listed. Like, he doesn't list the client's name or whatever, right? But he had this good review for a residential in the same location. And I'm wondering if that's supposed to be a review from our client that does not have a good review.
And he cherry picks the words.
Right, yeah, because it'll be like blah, 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 ... and then, you know.
Giuseppe says, screw it, rip him a new one, blow his fake shit up. That is the...
I mean, it's not like we haven't before. It's not like we haven't before.
I think this is actually our favorite thing. It's my favorite
thing.
thing.
See, there's this other group that's out there I don't like that specifically does that. They just go after groups for their evidence. And a lot of times they do it. And I don't necessarily think that some of the evidence that they're like, oh, this is fake, you guys are horrible. I'm like, I don't think it was like, I don't necessarily think it's proof or that it's, you know, the greatest thing out there, but I don't think they were necessarily being dishonest. Like,
No.
I don't think they deserve it.
And this is only the second time we've had an issue like this.
It really is what he did with the information that bothers me. If you go out and I'm not calling anybody out, but when I say this, like, I'm not talking about somebody specific, but if you go out and you do investigations and you don't do it just like us, or you don't do the best job, or we don't agree with your conclusion or whatever, that's fine. There's enough room for all of us.
And a bunch of different opinions. Yeah.
Yeah, and people are hobbyists. I don't have a problem with that. Hell, Emilio and his brother do things different than we do.
Yeah, but they're not going to go in a house and be like, demon's going to eat your baby.
Yeah, they don't scare people into a frenzy. We can have conversations about our different methods and our different evidence and not get up in arms about it.
Yeah.
But they don't go in and tell people that their baby could die
or get scared to death. Really the only times we've ever done this is when someone is doing
things that are directly harmful. The thing with Ben is he was going in
saying people's house had demons and then making them pay
and then extorting them for money to get rid of demons.
And he's in jail now, so there's that.
Yeah, well, you know, but you know what? Here's the deal: if you could do background checks in Canada, maybe the people that hired him to come into the house
would know.
Could have background checked Ben and known he was a pedophile and probably wouldn't have had him in there. And that's my argument for background checks right there.
If only he was a pedophile, he was making pedophile threats.
Whatever. If only there was a way to know that Ben had been an a-hole before they brought him in.
Well, and he'd obviously been committing a lot of fraud.
I was just bringing it full circle. Okay, so I wanted to... I know our show's running long, but I wanted to talk about tomorrow. We're going to be doing a live stream investigation from the number 9 warehouse, which is where we will be doing the public investigation.
And there are some pictures of it on my Facebook if you want to look.
There's tons of pictures all over our Facebook page. We have some video up too, but I also want to talk about the live event. So we're doing a live stream investigation tomorrow, so that'll be like a little bit of a preview, and that's the private one. But we're going to have a public investigation on the 12th and 13th that you can buy tickets for.
It's only the second time we've done this, so
yeah,
a little nervous, but
it's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. And
last time it was really stressful because everybody was like, "Why doesn't the ghost do anything?"
So Sam, the guy that's coordinating everything with me, we talked about how we're doing it. So when we did it in Tyler, they just kind of threw everybody at us and everybody milled around. This time, we're taking people in small groups. And so it's there. We will be able to do good experiments, even though it's a public event.
Okay.
So there will be less.
That'll be better.
Yeah, because the haunted house is going to be open, like it's a legit haunted house, and you can go through it, and then they're going to do it lights up, and you can see the backstage stuff.
Are you going to go through the haunted house like as a person?
I don't. I can't Friday because I got to work, but
Saturday.
Maybe Saturday we'll go through. Because I've never been through a haunted house. Except with,
The lights on?
Yeah, with the lights on tour. And then they're going to turn on the lights. Everybody gets a backstage tour. And then there's like an intermission period where it's catered. You get food, guys. They're going to feed you. Then after that, there's I'm calling it a lecture, but it's like a presentation, Paranormal 101 class, I guess. I don't know. But we're going to be doing that. And we're going to be selling our book there, doing book signings.
You're doing a raffle?
We are doing a badass raffle. That's what I wanted to talk about. So we have a grand prize and a runner-up prize. So the raffle, it's $5 for the first ticket. It's $3 for every additional ticket that you do in the same purchase. The runner-up prize on its own is a pretty cool swag bag. So if you win the runner-up, you get a keychain flashlight. You get a NTP journal to write your evidence in on your investigations. You get an NTP pen. You get a 20-pack of bracelet glow sticks, which you use while you're on so you can identify each other or whatever. And you get a sweet free copy of our book, totally signed. That's the runner-up bag. That's not a horrible consolation prize. Now, the main prize, though, is the thing everybody's going to want. So, what do you think's in the...
I saw it yesterday.
Come on.
So, I think there's a t-shirt.
It's in the bottom.
Oh.
So,
I think there's a book.
You're going to get a digital recorder for doing EVP work. You're going to get an EMF detector.
For electricianing.
You're going to get a full spectrum 720p video camera with a built-in IR light that's been modified by me. And it comes with an 8 gigabyte memory card, which is about 4 hours of video. You get a copy of the book, signed by the whole group. You get a 720 nanometer mono wavelength flashlight. You also get the keychain flashlight. Flashlights are always good. NTP journal, glow sticks, and you get a sweet NTP t-shirt.
And see, I'm going to wear that at the investigation before, so you have to wash it after, because I need to borrow that.
Is it like Elvis, where he threw out like the sweaty clothes?
Ew.
Or whatever?
I wasn't planning on sweating in it.
Oh. But yeah, it's a straight up
Carlos says, "Can we join the raffle?" LOL.
No.
He said LOL.
Nope.
He was joking.
Nope, you cannot, because you're part of the staff. The other thing that's going to be really cool about the public event is it's been advertised as hosted by NTP, but the Paranormal Brothers are actually there helping us out because we are understaffed for this size of a public event. But I don't remember the prices of the tickets. I know it's like $30 for the haunted house.
Katie said she got her t-shirt today.
Yeah, she got one of the new ones that's got the new logo on it too. I think if you just want it, you can buy tickets for just the investigation
Catherine says
portion.
all her dreams are squashed because she can't be in the raffle.
She's already got some equipment.
Why would you do that to Catherine?
She had it coming. Or you can buy both events. You can get the haunted house pass, and it's an unlimited pass. You can go through as many times as you want along with it, and you get like a combo thing.
Do we get to do that part for free?
Yes, we're staff, dummy.
I mean, going through the actual haunted house like as a person.
Yeah, we can go.
Cool.
I'll hook you up. We'll go through it tomorrow.
I meant when it's off, like when they're actually scaring people.
Oh yeah. Do you want to be one of the actors?
Yeah.
Well, then just go earlier. I'll let them know.
Yeah, this is in Texas, Ryan.
Yeah, it's Fort Worth, Texas, at 4400 Blue Mountain Road, Hangman's House of Horrors. Anyway, I was saying about so there's like, if you get both of them together, it's a little bit cheaper. And if you use checkout code NT Paranormal, you'll get 20% off whatever tickets you buy. So we're going to be there doing that. And it's going to be, oh yeah. So anyway, we'll do the raffle so that whoever wins can get their paranormal investigation kit before we start the investigations. And then we will start taking groups through warehouse number 9. It's 3 floors. Well, if you guys tune in tomorrow and watch the live investigation, we'll tell you a lot about it, and you'll get to see where you're going to get to investigate.
It is 3 floors. The air quality is pretty good. Like, no need to like wear masks or anything.
Oh, no. Yeah.
The third floor's got some holes in it, but we're going to mark them, so...
No, it's all that's going to be...
Okay.
All that's going to be taken care of. And
I would say if you have a physical, like, health issue that it might be difficult to go. I think to mention that just because I do.
Well, if you have a problem with stairs...
Like, my mom
that,
wants to go, but she's got
floor.
a back problem, so...
She could do just the first floor. It'd be fine. And you can go back... You can go through multiple times. Like, we'll take you through all
Mary Ann wants us to come pick her up so she can...
I hear bus tickets are pretty cheap.
From Florida.
Yeah.
Jeez.
My friend just Ubered from Alabama to Florida, and it only cost him $230. That's pretty good for not having to drive yourself.
Yeah.
But we'll take you through like your initial tour or whatever, and then you'll be able to go back for subsequent experiments. And if you're an investigator, you are welcome to bring your own equipment.
Bring your own crap. Do your investigation.
Yeah. It's going to be hella cool. And it's the investigation's going to start at like 11 and it goes till like 4 in the morning.
Nina says, I love what y'all do, but I'm too chicken to go. I'm afraid I will get what's left of my life sucked out of me. LOL.
Might make you feel better. Adrenaline helps with like physical pain and stuff like that. I think that's why you have kind of an addiction to it, because it helps with some of your chronic pain.
I've been an adrenaline junkie since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
It's gonna be awesome though. Like I'm excited.
Closing thoughts, arguments, whatever. Bobby Rush. Don't. You know what? I almost kind of regret giving that, because if you guys all go to his website, he's gonna start getting all this traffic. You know what? You know what makes me mad about his website? It's one of the free ones on Wix. Like, he's too cheap to even pay for his own domain.
So am I.
I feel like it's wasted. I just want to get this guy blackballed. I don't like him. I don't like his work.
We should hear his side of it.
Why?
Because that way
is that important?
That way we can say we were fair, even if it's a lie.
I'm a logical, scientific person that believes in controls and, fair experiments, but I really just want this guy to not be able to,
fuck with people anymore.
Yeah, that sounds bad. Okay, so we've hit 2 hours. We haven't done an episode this long in a while. So anyway, we will be live.
I have shiz to do.
Yeah, we'll be live streaming tomorrow, 10 o'clock, from warehouse number 9.
We say 10 o'clock, but if stuff happens, it might be 11.
We're going to try to be live streaming by 10 o'clock. Hope to see all you guys there. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. And if you dig the t-shirts and all that and you don't want to wait for the raffle, go to our website. Apparently people didn't know that we had stuff you could buy. If you go to ntparanormal.com/store, there's stuff you can buy.
My son's been telling all his friends we have merch because apparently that's the cool thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. And we have new merch now, too. And, of course, we've got the book. It's an audiobook. It's on Amazon, all that good stuff. Normally, we don't maybe I should start advertising this stuff. I don't know. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all the comments and all that good stuff. And, if you happen to run into Bobby Rush online,
tell him he's stupid.
Yeah, just, let him know you want to be.
But not from us.
That you want to be his number one fan.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.